Ron DeSantis, how do you think he's doing?
Badly, without question.
Why do you think?
But he just has a personality problem, and personality matters in politics. You can't describe it. There's an it factor that people have, and it doesn't matter left or right, by the way. Like Bill Clinton has the it factor. I mean, there's just something about Bill Clinton that even when you know he's lying to your face, you just like him. He picks up the saxophone, he plays it, and you feel good about Bill Clinton.
So true. Like Arsenio Hall, when he did that, you just like this.
I love him. Yeah, I'm like, oh, God, I know I'm supposed to hate you. But even when Hillary was running, I was like, yeah, I kind of like Bill.
I actually agree. Yeah. I voted for him.
It's crazy. That's crazy. Like, I was like, I'll deal with it because I like that guy.
He had swag.
Well, what does that tell us, though? What does that tell us, though? Because when Larry Elder was here this week, and my trainer asked me, says, who do you have this week? I said, Larry Elder Tuesdays. I said, Candace on Thursday. And he himself is a former wide receiver, African-American, so he's a great guy. He says, what is this, the PBD Podcast African-American Week? Is that what I said? No, bro, that's what we're doing. Yeah. But when Larry was here, we were talking. One of the things we talked about is that I'm interested in is what are the top 5 most important things to look at? Like in baseball, they used to say it's home runs or doubles or stolen bases or this, and then now they're going on-base percentage. In every sales company, you want to find the number one most important behavior. In content, you need charisma, able to keep someone's attention, storyteller, witty, entertaining, value, all of which you have all of that. So you need those types of qualities. What do you think are the top 5 things you need to make a president? Where if how Roger Stone said back in the 70s, 80s, he says, I think Trump's going to be a president one day, right? He said this 40 years ago before it even happened. And then he goes on Oprah Winfrey. He's like, well, you're talking a language. Are you going to be one day? What do you think those 5 things are? Because DeSantis has an incredible resume.
Yeah, the resume doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything. And unfortunately, people hate to hear that, to accept that as a truth, where it's like, well, he's done all of these things, and this means that he should be president. It just doesn't work like that. I would almost say the number one thing is you got to have the it factor. And it has to do with how you warm the crowd, how the crowd responds to you. Trump has it. I mean, when I met him, I can't explain it. He makes you feel like he's a blue-collar person that's been driving garbage trucks his entire life. The way that I'm serious. I'm not kidding. Like the way he communicates with people, you do not feel that he's this elite, untouchable billionaire that comes from a wealthy family at all. And when he looks at you, he wants you to feel seen. He's very funny. That's the thing that I think gets lost, is how hilarious he is. I mean, he breaks the ice. There's not an awkward moment when you're with him. I remember walking into the Oval Office the first time that I met him, and I was so nervous. And one of the worst things, I love you. I watch you on Fox News, all this stuff. And then he says, and I want to say also, you're very beautiful, but I don't want to get me too'd. I don't want to get me too'd. Like, that's very funny for the president of the United States to say in the Oval Office at the height of the Me Too movement. It's just funny.
Oh, it's so funny.
And so he just is able to relate to people in a way. And I try to tell people he has a magnetic personality, and there's nothing that the media can do to take that away, because if he gets in front of people, he's going to be able to unleash that. And DeSantis has the exact opposite personality. So I saw DeSantis speaking at an RGA before he was running for president, and he was speaking amongst a group of his donors that just got him elected. He barely got over the finish line against Andrew Gillum, who, by the way, has charisma, has the it factor.
And crack.
The's no reason. Yep. Yeah, I'm the one that broke that story, by the way.
Did you really?
It was me. I broke it on my
Twitter.
Gay
sex party.
Yep.
Love it.
How that story came to me was just...
You're breaking all these stories with Gillum, Obama.
That was like
you're doing
right
your thing.
Place, right time, insanity. But yeah, he almost lost to Andrew Gillum. There's no reason that they should even be close. Of course, Ron DeSantis is so much better. But what happened? Ron has a personality problem.
The Riz.
He looks uncomfortable on stage. He kind of was, snaps at his donors. He seems like he's like angry at them, and that might be his personality. But then he's trying now, as he's running, to force this different personality where he's like smiling, and it makes me uncomfortable. And so I just don't think he's found his rhythm and his personality.
You think you can find that? You think you can find that? You think personality can be found if you don't have it?
No.
Okay. So it factor is one. Factor is one. What else would you put? Like, one of the things we talked about is the new direction of where we're going. Do you think the message of anti-establishment sitting with voters, that they're sick of it from both sides, left and right, where Ross Perot was able to be an anti-establishment guy, where Trump anti-establishment, and Vivek has kind of positioned himself as an anti-establishment. Even RFK's kind of positioned himself as an anti-establishment. Do you think choosing the right enemies also a factor? Then do you look at money, like if you have FU money gives you an edge where you don't need to ask money from anybody? What else would you say it is?
Well, instinct, I think, is a huge part of it too. Being able to read your base and actually being able to respond and edit yourself if you're going the wrong way, which is something that also Ron DeSantis doesn't have. Like, despite having all that money,
right?
I mean, he was the blessed candidate.
Yeah.
All the donors were giving him all the cash. They were jumping off of the Trump ship. Yep. And why did it not matter? Because nobody cared. He had very bad instincts. You know, I was calling it early. I was like, the team around him is horrible. The influencer circle is horrible. I think that Vivek is correct when he says that you should run your presidential campaign like a startup. And when you talk to any of the Trump family members, I'm thinking of Laura and Eric and Don Jr., they'll tell you how they literally had no idea what they were doing in 2015, you know, because they'd never done this before. So they were kind of editing and following their instincts and listening to people's feedback. So he kind of ran the campaign like a startup. And when you're in startup mode, which I'm ripping this from Vivek because we had talked about this on my podcast, you know, when you don't have a lot of money, you really think about how you're going to spend that not a lot of money that you have, right? So you're way more focused. Whereas if he said when you're a company and you've got too much money, a lot of it gets wasted.
Super PAC, all this other money that's given to you. A lot of it gets wasted on
stupid stuff because you're like, somebody's pulling you this way and saying, oh, you have this much money, you got to run this on comms and all of this stuff. And Trump was just like on his Twitter, and that was his comms.
What else would you say? So I'm actually, the reason why I want your insight, because I think you flirted with the idea of eventually running. I think you're eventually going to run. I think you're going to be formidable. And I think if you do, it would be so entertaining to watch you on the debate stage. Just so for selfish reasons, I want to see it. And I'm sure you've thought about this because you have that. You have the witty, you have the kind of like, you know, the instinct as well. You know how when they're trying to corner you, you're doing a Congress, you know, you're out there, they're trying to pin you in this one thing, and you come over here and you call this guy, you tell him I didn't say that, and then you still give your message and you stay on point. While all this shit's happening at the same time, you can still keep that poise. What else would you say? So far we have it factor, instinct. I wrote down naivete, an element of the Tom Brady talked about the naive factor that you don't know how dark it is. You're just like, I think I can be the greatest. And then the startup phase, what else would you add to it?
Yeah, so I think that is part of being able to read the base is actually understanding what the issues are, understanding the people. And this is where the Democrats just fall apart. You know, they just become such elitists. I mean, and by the way, I want to be clear, not just Democrats, Republicans as well.
So if you like this clip and you want to watch another one, click right here. And if you want to watch the entire podcast, click right here.